And good morning. Good morning. It is just a couple minutes after 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm Ani. So today we don't have Teresa, so we didn't have the 10 toys set up. And honestly, I'm just running a scooch behind because I'm attempting to do this solo. And so what I'm going to do is sort of sit here for a moment and talk with you glibly as I hope we gather together over the next minute or two uh, so that we can, in fact, have this rather short discussion. I have prepared some comments this morning, sort of an overview of what is happening in my reaction to it, and wondering how y'all are doing this morning. It is the news is, as we know, kind of dire. It's a hard world to wake up in sometimes. But on Fridays, I really do look forward to sharing a little time with you. And again, I'm super glad that we were able to do this together. So we'll just give maybe one more moment here, and I could run off and do something wacky like grab my script. I would like to do that, I think. Uh, because if not now, when? I'll be back really momentarily. All right. Um, Goodness. Thank you, Jabara, for that feedback. I don't know why YouTube is being difficult this morning, but then again, much of this morning is being difficult. This is one of those days I wish I did more astrology. I wonder what is happening with transits. Um, and speaking of difficulties, Teresa is having difficulty with her back this morning, and that's why she's unable to join me. But we surely hope that she is feeling better really soon. Um, all right. I'm just going to sort of launch into this. I'm far more used to being conversational, so bear with me. This is now Bridge to a Better World. I am Ani Raven Haynes, and I do thank you for joining me this morning. I do cherish this time that we have to come together as community and to share, just what's going on with each other. So, a quick look at today's news, this week's news, is enough to make me want to run for cover. The news has been really super heavy, friends, and of course, you don't need me to tell you that. You've been aware of it and feeling it yourselves. I was today years old. Well, I was, I guess, 3 days ago old when I first saw a smoke forecast as part of a weather report for the news on television. A smoke forecast. And I thought, I'm 55 years old and we hadn't needed smoke forecasts before. Not much. Not around here. Well, that smoke forecast was actually for California, where there were 6 wildfires burning. And the idea that the West just routinely burns now in the summer, somebody posted on Twitter a few days ago that it seems like, the Northwest now has gloom season and fire season. And as we take that in, as somebody who's lived in Portland my whole life and who has seen this weather change occur in the last few years, really, to have it become so dramatic, so noticeable, it it hurts, right? It hurts. Not only is it physically uncomfortable, but it reminds us if we let it, it reminds us that things are changing. Things are changing very rapidly. I say if we let it because we have a tendency to just sort of assimilate the new normal. This is just the way things are now. And sometimes we don't bring to mind how things were just before. So anyway, I'll get back to a little bit more about that later. Um, so as I was saying, there were, 6 wildfires burning in California. The bootleg fire I see has been 100% contained, and so that is, something, but still we have all that aren't. And we know that they create their own weather systems, right? These giant wildfires, each one sort of superseding the last as the record breaker for the biggest wildfire. The Caldera fire tripled in size overnight last week. There was a news reporter who broke down in tears, who was reporting about people hesitating to evacuate, and her concern was so real. There are people desperately trying to flee Afghanistan. I saw people clinging to the outside of airplanes as they were trying to take off, and they were falling from those airplanes. And now, this morning, I've learned that one of the people that fell to their death was a 17-year-old named Zaki Anwari. He was a member of Afghanistan's national youth soccer team and was a rising star. People were very proud of him. And he was so desperate to leave Afghanistan in the Taliban's rule that he ran. He was photographed by many running alongside one of the airplanes, and he grabbed onto the wheels as it was taking off and fell to his death. I mean, that's an act of desperation I can't even fathom. If you're going to be clinging to the outside of an aircraft, you know, you're gonna die. And to see people make that choice, rather than to submit to this takeover of the Taliban, again, it hurts when you let that news in, right? It hurts the implications of that. The UN High Commission on Refugees is asking neighboring countries to allow refugees in without hesitation at this time because there is such a humanitarian crisis. There are reports of the Taliban conducting door to door searches now, right now, looking for everyone who had worked with the US or NATO forces over the last 20 years. This was the week I also saw scenes of Greece burning behind a ferry load of people who were fleeing from Lake Avia. That was an image that has really just tattooed itself on my mind. There are nearing 2,000 dead in Haiti from the earthquake last week, about a week ago now. And all of these images, right? All of these images leave impressions and leave scars. And if you really let yourself think about it, it really does hurt. But we have to really think about it. We can't turn away. There's the pandemic that's raging in this country, and that's a whole nother thing. The pandemic that's raging in this country primarily because of those who have refused to get the very, very accessible vaccine, raging in other countries because people do not have access to that vaccine. And the upcoming crop of GOP presidential hopefuls, well, they seem to be trying to outdo each other in who's going to be able to pass the policies and use the words that are going to kill larger swaths of their own supporters and some of the rest of us too. I honestly don't get that strategy. I just don't get it. Even as Abbott has corona, has the virus, he seeks to ban mask mandates. How anti-science? Where does this lead, right? Where does this go? As a side note, the Moda Center in Portland is holding its first concert post the start of the shutdowns. That's right. You can go see Guns N' Roses at the Moda Center, possible capacity of 10,000. They're not requiring proof of vaccination, and there's no vaccinated area, as there has been for some sporting events there, I understand. Um, they will be requiring masks in keeping with the statewide mask mandate. But I'm just thinking, like somebody died in Oregon this week for lack of an ICU bed. But it's all right to cram up to 10,000 people together to hear Axl Rose at the Moda Center without requiring proof of vaccination. I mean, first of all, how is Guns N' Roses even still a thing? And second of all, how does the Moda Center not feel like they wanna maybe require, is it just sort of a paperwork hassle? You're gonna have to refund tickets, something might happen with profits. How do you have thousands of people inside as the Delta virus, as the Delta variant is spiking, as Oregon is actually running out of hospital beds? But Guns N' Roses, we could just, go on then. The mind boggles. My mind boggled. So, speaking just another moment about vaccine access, we're now wrestling with the question of continuing the vaccine apartheid as many nations have had damn little access to the life-saving vaccine, while the US moves forward with plans to give about a third vaccine, a booster shot, to people 8 months after their second jab, uh, to boost efficacy, as we're finding breakthrough cases are happening, right? Democracy Now! Reports the World Health Organization's Africa director has condemned plans by the US and other wealthy countries to offer third doses before much of the world has had access to any. COVID, the COVID vaccine has reached only 2% of Africa's 1.3 billion people, an entire continent, 2% vaccinated. Uh, so perhaps in the interest of justice, in the interest of being human and caring for one another, we, actually should prioritize vaccinating the world, making the vaccine accessible to all. That said, it's also, I think, enlightened self-interest to think of the end of the pandemic faster. The more we can eradicate or slow the transmission of this virus around the world, the less variants will be developed and the less, virus for all. Either way you look at it, we have to get the rest of the world access to the vaccines. And remember, all of this is happening with giant pharmaceutical companies making obscene, just staggering levels of profits from a vaccine that was developed with enormous amounts of public monies. And the situation itself is enough to leave me raging and weeping and hiding in under my covers. But we also have a lot else to deal with, right? And in all of this, my phone was blowing up this morning with news notifications as I was writing things up and prepping, and it is just going off from about 6 o'clock on. And finally, I'm just like, okay, there's been a nuclear launch. Something's happened. I'm gonna now look and see what else I need to add to my notes this morning, my remarks to share with you. And I was a little stunned to find out that I had 8 news notifications all about Mike Richards, the new host of Jeopardy, who has apparently resigned because people had found that he, in fact, has been a dick online. Okay. Um, it kind of blew me away. I get that we need to distract ourselves sometimes, but that seemed a little excessive. And, it's important. I just wanna go ahead and, note that we do so dearly love a distraction, and let us not be distracted. I do understand that when people make horrible statements online, I have no idea what the background of this is. I've never heard of this guy, I have to admit. Pop culture sometimes, passes me over. But as far as world news and major events go, this seems to, not maybe be a 8 notification sort of situation. Just saying. The earth is in crisis. It's on fire. We have humanitarian crisis of grave proportions going on. Um, let's stay focused. So, along that line, I'm trying very hard to feel this horror of the news and at the same time not let it overwhelm me. And it's hard. And so I grieve. I grieve for the world hard. I've spent days this week weeping, um, and meditating on this. And I bet y'all have also. If you let yourself really, become aware of the news, it's hard not to break open and weep. And at the same time, all we have is now. And we have these precious moments with each other. And we have this precious world on which we live. And I am overwhelmed also by moments of joy and love and connection. And that's how it really has to be, because to turn away from the pleasures that we have in our moments, to turn away from the love that we share, to turn away from experiencing joy is to deny life. And to turn away from the crisis that the world is in, the climate crisis, the humanitarian crisis, to turn away from the public health crisis, to turn away from all of that is to deny our humanity and is to deny our ability to actually try to improve, to make this world better than we found it. And I don't really have a lot of answers here, but the wisdom I'm left with is just this. We each have an important part to play, and we each have to follow it and play it well to the best of our abilities. Find your part in making things better and go on. And when you find that you really are too tired for a moment, you take a rest, you step back, you refresh and rejuvenate and reconnect, and then you re-engage and you keep going. We balance. It's not. I have known people who say, or who have the attitude, if they don't say it out loud, that to be serious, to really be a social change worker, is to really just nose to the grindstone, and you just keep going. And how can you possibly enjoy yourself when you know the world is suffering? To do so seems so bougie. Um, and I say that that's not sustainable. We have to. It is necessary for our lives now to engage in pleasure, to love each other, to be kind to each other, to laugh, and to laugh a lot and to laugh hard when we can, because life is truly precious, and this is what we have. And yeah, we can, and I'm gonna say should, use our lives, in service to this world, in service to each other, in helping each other along, and in helping to mitigate the harms that have been done. But, we can't squander this one precious life we have. So, breathe in life. Know that you are connected to source, and when you're feeling depleted, take time, breathe in deep and reconnect to source, to yourself, and to others. Take care of you because you are sacred and you are worthy. And remember always to reach out for love and support because we're all feeling it and we're all in this together, really, literally. Give thanks for what you have and remember to tell your peeps that you love them. We are in this together. And that can be very genuine. We need to create a better world for each other and create our communities with some tight social nets. We have talked a lot about ways of trying to shift things with perhaps a general strike, which will require a lot of coordinated effort and a lot of support. Um, we need to really make real, to actualize those systems of support and to do it now because we have to overgrow this system that is trying to kill us all, right? All we have is each other. But, it's really all we need because we're awesome. You're awesome. And we can do this thing. We have to really, um, we have to. We have to make this world better for ourselves, for each other, for the generations to come, for the generations that have passed. It is our legacy. It's why we are here at this time. And with that, I have a little tarot reading. And the tarot reading basically amounts to this. There's something from our past that is to be remembered and cherished. And I think if you'll recall at the beginning of this stream, I talked about remembering how things have changed and how we didn't used to have smoke forecasts. And we didn't used to have 2 seasons, wet or on fire in Portland, in the Northwest. How things have absolutely changed. And it's important to remember how things were. And it's important to remember what was good as well as what was not so good about that. So we can connect to the past and shift what needs to be shifted, but to not get used to just sort of accepting that this is the way things are now. So that's the Six of Cups. It's a card about nostalgia, about childhood memories. It's also a card that asks that we connect now with family and children in our lives and to apply good, healthy relationship, what we've learned from maybe our own selves, our own past, to heal and to make things better as we move on. And then, of course, there's this tower. And the tower keeps coming up, right? So the tower card talks again about the end of cycles. That which cannot be sustained will not be sustained. Um, so we know that this world is not sustainable. We also know that coming up, we have a lot of things going on that are gravely, gravely concerning. We have the uh, Patriot Prayer, Patriot Front. We have a gathering on Sunday of forces that are fascistic, that promote white supremacy, that are looking to fight, that have been associated with acts of violence in our community. And they're rallying on Sunday. We know there was someone yesterday who, was threatening to blow up Library of Congress. Um, we know that there is a desperation amongst those people that want to continue making the world worse, right? We know that there's acts of desperation that they are feeling driven to because they feel like they're losing ground. And so that may also play into the tower. There's the Trump reinstatement crowd that are really just about frenzied right now. And so this is a pretty dangerous time. Shane Burley, who is a wonderful reporter, anti-fascist writer, local, has written very recently about how this may be one of the most volatile times for the far right. And I think that that is true. It's very well reasoned. And I have also been feeling that. They're feeling cornered and they're looking to lash out. Between the natural disasters, so-called natural disasters that have really been set up by human causation, by the petrochemical corporations, etc., through climate change, and the rise of the alt-right, the frenzied, I guess, machinations of the alt-right, I should say, or of the mega crowd. Um, between those two things and the pandemic, okay, between those three things, uh, I would be really surprised not to get the tower card. It feels very upon us. There are major shifts happening. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Because again, that which cannot be sustained really shouldn't be. And capitalism can't be sustained. It's killing us. The system can't be sustained. It's killing us. Um, we need to, again, support each other and make sure that we are all as strong as we can be, and that we need to look in on each other, take care of each other. And then I have the card of the moon. So the moon card is an interesting card. It is a card that talks about a call to come into our wild selves. It talks about connecting with deep subconscious ideas and thoughts. It is our way forward. It is. It's also a card, though, that traditionally was pretty feared. It was associated with major endings, um, the ends of eras, because the moon has cycles, and every beginning needs an ending, and every ending bodes a beginning, right? And so, in the most traditional thoughts of tarot, the moon card was one of the most disturbing to draw. Um, I think anyway. That's not where we're at anymore. Those major cyclical shifts, I'm here for them right about now, right? This is a time that we need some major cyclical shifting, or should I say, shifting back to a way that is actually not causing the climate change that we are now experiencing. It is time to move away from the exploitation that drives the economic cycles that we are in. It's time to move away from wars that, after 20 years, result in huge humanitarian crises. After trillions of dollars have been spent, that has taken that money away from the public coffers and public education and healthcare and housing. It has robbed the American people while it has waged war on the Afghan people. And for what end? So the Taliban now take it over. It's time for some major cyclical shifts, right? So the way through those shifts and the way we find what part we each play is by connecting to our deep subconscious self. is by connecting to our spiritual side and our wild side, is by knowing that the regular routes through aren't gonna get us there. So this Sunday is a full moon, just FYI. It's actually happening, early Sunday morning, so celebrate it Saturday night or Sunday night. It's, there's a 3-day span for full moon energy. I'm just gonna put that out there. And the full moon is a wonderful time to really, really connect with our subconscious selves. It is a good time to, bring forth visions and ideas. It is a good time to, really draw down some lunar power. That is, to awaken our imaginations, to awaken our dream selves, to connect with the goddess, to try to think about things differently, to go in a Witterson's fashion against the grain, counterclockwise or moonwise. And so that's the tarot advice I have for today. Please do remember that what is happening right now is not normal. Remember how things felt in the before times and the long, long ago. And remember that the cycle is ending and we must support each other through it. We must hold on to each other. And that's how we make our way through and how we make our way better and how we make the world a better place. So, let's see, with that, how do you connect with us? Well, you can connect with us right here on our YouTube channel. You can also follow along with us throughout the week in the Twitterverse at Bridge numeral 2 Utopia. You can also find us on Instagram. This is now Bridge to a Better World. And you can also find me. I have a website myself where I explore witchy things and blog about spirituality and stuff like that. AniRavenHaines.com. You can check that out if you'd like. And yeah, I also have some pieces on Medium. Well, you'll find me also as Ani Raven Haynes. Thanks so much for being a part of this and for tuning in this morning for streaming. It's wonderful to see your names. Sorry, I wasn't able to type back as in fact we were chatting, but thanks for being there. It's wonderful to know. And I will pass on your well wishes to Teresa, who I'm sure will be feeling better soon. Thank you for your caring, and we both love you so much. Take good care.